Still looking for the YouTube link here. There we go. Okay, looks like we're all set here. Let things get situated and go ahead and start off by saying good morning. Happy March to everybody. It's of course March 1st, 2023. It's also Wednesday, so a little bit of a midweek review. And as always, this is Engineering the Markets, and of course my name is Jared. So wanted to start off today by just reviewing the month. We need to sort of assess what sort of posture the market is in. What are some red flags that are starting to certainly make themselves evident, and then talk through the week, which for the most part, if we're looking at the SPX, has remained relatively flat. I know as traders, we see pretty much every buy and sell swing in the market, but always we want to be thinking about where do we start and where are we now relative to any sort of posture, along with any potential changes in what the market might be offering as opportunity. And as you can see, we closed the month relatively weak, but we did close right on top of last month's. We closed the month on Friday's close. I was trying to figure out the right date to say there. So as far as the SPX is concerned, we haven't really moved this week, except for a little bit of an attempt to the upside, which of course has been negated. I think whenever we are looking at maybe some weekly and monthly closure in the market, in this case, we're looking at the actual close of the SPX. One of the initial concerns is that we do have a topping tail. So the market was looking to expand past the January close. And I'll just kind of, update that relative to the January close, which was a fairly strong and sort of momentum-driven month in the market. We pushed past it slightly, and then of course we have come back inside, and our overall posture right now is one that is rejecting further upside. So as far as the overall price activity is concerned, one of the issues is that the response of most markets when trying to get outside of a range is to test. And usually when markets are in some sort of test structure, they're trying to move away from previous regions. This particular view of the market would suggest that there is potentially more downside, along with the idea that if we start to traverse this price range, one of the sort of lower risk regions is somewhere near 375 in the S&P. We can also kind of tell that the weekly posture right now is one of consolidation and pullback. Just kind of reminding people that we're not necessarily in weekly downtrend at this point in time, but we are looking to retrace back from a previous impulsive move to the upside. So often we're looking at retracement depth in regards to how severe is the pullback. Just kind of ticking off these short-term levels that we're using to mark some of the dynamics down there. Retracement depth is important, along with potentially setting up for future trade, even if we do eventually see something like a lower high on any sort of bounce attempt. So right now we have retraced about half of the previous impulsive move. From a fib perspective, anywhere between 50 to 61.8 would suggest potentially some equilibrium in the future. But of course, the lower we go, the worse the posture becomes. And even if we do sort of form a weekly higher low, we would be looking for that lower high on any sort of bounce attempt, just because the ability for the market to move is somewhat stunted by the pullback. So the overall technicals here are still suggesting potential back to some of these upper boundaries that the market is attempting to get through. But right now we're dealing with, of course, the consolidation on the short term, the gap down that we saw 2 weeks prior, which at this point in time has not been filled, along with the fact that this is a retracement similar to other retracements that we've seen historically. You can kind of see here that there was about a 50 to 61.8% retracement once we topped out in late November. So very similar sort of retracement depth, but we're obviously anchoring from some of the December and January lows in order to get a sense of the depth of retracement so far. So that's, of course, the posture of the SPY, along with the overall view that from a market depth perspective, a lot of the momentum we did see out in January was led by particular stocks, not necessarily all-out sector performance, but there were standout leaders in risk-on type sectors. If you're ever looking at trading terminal, not only for the past month, but also just looking at sector performance year to date, you can see that last month, of course, was relatively weak. Market internals were net bearish, and most sectors either saw a little bit of drawdown or actually outperformed the S&P or the NASDAQ to the downside, depending on how you sort of view the drawdown. But from a year-to-date perspective, there is still some positivity. Consumer discretionaries have been the leader. Communication services as well. A lot of initial momentum coming out of that particular sector, and a lot of recovery, strong performance coming from earnings, et cetera, et cetera. And then, of course, technology. So once again, it's a bit relative, but if we're looking year to date and we look at how this market has performed, the argument would be that over the past 2 months, it's been very heavily driven by risk-on sectors. So the thesis of drawdown at this point in time is, are those sectors experiencing downside risk, and are they seeing larger retracement depth than the market can tolerate in regards to other sectors taking up the slack? Usually there can be some sector rotation, kind of keeps the indices a bit healthy, but if you do have your risk on sectors underperforming, that tends to be a relatively challenging period for NASDAQ, S&P, even arguably the IWM, which does have some larger exposure in biotech and healthcare, but that necessarily hasn't been an outperformer either. Along with the fact that if we look year to date, the outperformance that we saw in the Dow, which started late October of last year and actually carried through into the start of this year, we're looking more so from January 1st. The Dow's actually been not only a laggard, but is actually down on the year. So there has been notable sort of drift away and a lack of participation from what was initially quite a strong entry point into the year for the Dow. Just the size of that recovery, we are still seeing a more consolidative period as the Dow is trying to assess the next wave of price movement. So the perspective that I kind of gain from looking at, different indices, their posture, how we're starting the month, is I'm looking to see where the opportunity sort of is established and where can we start to look for new trade opportunities. Because at the end of the day, we are just trying to assess whether the market is more inclined to be in a period of drawdown, maybe more of a net short period. Are we seeing more neutrality, certain levels being respected very clearly? And for those, we just want to avoid taking certain actions during that time, along with what is the risk. one thing that we kind of gain from the technicals is an idea of risk. How far has historical price moved when we've gotten to these levels and either accepted or rejected them through the concepts of support and resistance? One thing you can see on the NASDAQ here that's still a bit concerning is we're still in that essentially backtest mode of trying to move away from a relatively well-defined price region that has been established over the past 6 to 8 months. One of the arguments here is that for the most part, if you've been a biased long trader in the NASDAQ, you've had to exit the market at key opportunities, because otherwise the overall performance here is relatively flat, especially if we're looking back to May and June, which was some of the deeper retracements from all-time high. You compare that more to the SPY, and what you can see is while May and June price levels are still being interacted with, we have moved past that at certain points. And right now we're trying to assess whether that's going to continue or if we're starting to re-enter into a very difficult and quite sideways trading market for the most part. So some expectations for March is we did see a lot of outperformance in January. If we are in a period of pullback, I usually like to think about pullbacks in repetition relative to the previous iterations. So I'm looking for symmetry a lot of the time, hence why the fib tool is often quite useful. And what it gives you is a sense of risk to reward, along with the idea that if it's not quite setting up the same way as it did in a previous pullback, there may be something structurally changing about the market. Hence why looking at some of these depths of retracements, along with just starting to like collapse the short-term volatility and some of the short-term price regions, and start to think about what real pullbacks look like in this market. One of the ones that's kind of the most recent and obvious has been, of course, the December pullback, where we did get into a period of balance from November to December. We saw about 3 weeks of downside. That was kind of coming from this high, coming through into these lows, and quite a bit of price volatility in between. Looking at this just from that symmetrical approach, we could see that potentially while this retracement is still underway, one of the things I'll be looking for in the following weekly setup is, are bulls starting to more clearly defend these levels? The same approach is, are we starting to see that stabilization, bit more maybe like short-term sideways range, maybe a couple days of balance, along with the confirmation getting through and potentially pushing past some of the inside candles that we saw back in December into January. That would, of course, lead us to the idea that this trend could still continue, along with some of the next targets in the market as we start to maybe push past February's highs. If none of that comes to fruition, we need to look at the risk. And this is where we talk more about trend structure, the idea that markets can start to test trend lines and even breach them temporarily. But without a recovery of this trend line, the ultimate risk is a full give back. The idea that we could come back into the actual price support that was already established and essentially set up a rebound off of this level before usually seeing continuation on a lower high, starting to change the mindset of the trend. So these are, of course, the most obvious and sort of clear levels in the market. And it's where we need to be more or less engaged with whether smart money, whether continual performance is coming into certain sectors, and starting to see if there's any lean towards sectors that have not been part of this rally. One of the ones that I continue to kind of focus on is there an inherent risk in energy? Certainly the outperformer last year, but as far as this year's concerned, the price action has been flat. If you started the year long biased energy, right now you're actually seeing negative performance in your portfolio. So the question then becomes, does that provide further downside risk? And as energy has actually gained market cap dominance in the S&P, is this going to be one of the drags on the market? I continue to kind of claim that this could potentially be one of the linchpins of downside. Another one that's been unfortunately not quite aligned to some thesis ideas has been healthcare. While this isn't necessarily the same market cap as a technology sector, you need to recognize that healthcare does contribute approximately 14% to the S&P, and it is the second largest sector of the S&P. So one of the issues with being a bull is you have your second largest sector leading to the downside, both year to date and even over the past couple of weeks. The downside momentum has been picking up. There are certainly some levels to keep on watch. These are ones that can, once again, just kind of end this particular downside temporarily and provide more or less the oversold and range supported bounces. But as we are not quite at these levels yet, that does offer a bit more downside risk, as certainly right now there is nothing indicating that this sell swing is over, nor are we even finding any type of structural support at this time. The only thing I can really sort of offer as an opportunity here is this gap fill. It's kind of a breakaway type move. It was quite powerful in the moment, and we were looking for this to sort of stabilize a bit higher. This has unfortunately collapsed, and the depth of retracement here is obviously 100%. So that is not necessarily for the bulls, but something to be on the lookout for, especially if you're just looking short term for bounces and kind of plays off of levels. And then last but not least, financials. Once again, not necessarily massive market cap, but definitely dominance in cyclical sentiment and whether or not the market has relative leadership. I'm trying to find the fundamentals again. Relative leadership in another higher percentage higher percentage sector. What we're seeing is, because of leadership in tech, which once again 27% of the S&P, discretionaries not only outperformance but almost double some of the just nominal performance relative to the index, along with communication. These three contributors are covering up and oftentimes outshining weakness. So market breadth has been mixed, and you can certainly see that through the performance of the past 2 months. The question then becomes, is that going to change? If it changes, is it more correlated in one direction, or can we continue to find sector rotation related opportunities? Getting out of tech, maybe becoming a bit overbought or potentially overextended, along with moving into new sectors that might have more room to the upside, even if it's not going to drive the indices much higher. So this is kind of where we, put on our assessment of what is the theme of the market right now. Are we starting to see cracks in that theme? And are market participants preparing for anything up and coming? So far this year, the theme has remained high on the inflationary topics. But if we look at how the market has performed, inflationary related assets have not necessarily led. So there's certainly a sort of forward-looking approach to some of the rallies that we've seen, and there's a bit of repricing into maybe some sort of future outlook by the market, especially in regards to some of the tail end of the Fed's rate increases over the course of the year. So I say stick with what the market is providing. Never really fight the trends and some of the dominance as it's happening, but always be on the lookout for issues. There's almost always a bear and a bull case for everything. And usually it's more about, does the structure of the market tell you to do something different than what your thesis might be, or what the market's general theme happens to be aligned to. I usually find that while things might seem or feel a bit unstable, the question is the market doing what it's supposed to in regards to aligning to that theme? If the answer is no, then oftentimes we're looking at counter trend or short-term opportunities versus longer-term structure and usually trends for the most part. So as we get into this month, I think I would continue to be scouting for the inflection points. Levels help with finding inflection points, no matter how strong your technical skills happen to be, but you want to look for things that are just obvious. For example, it's obvious that the dollar is bouncing right now. It's obvious that it's coming off of strong monthly support. We're talking back testing ranges. The dollar sort of has the most clear previous range that it broke out from. We've come back in, and of course, over the past February period, there's been a lot of resistance in regards to equities based around how the dollar has been performing. So if we see this continue, it certainly makes sense that the S&P might continue to struggle or see a little bit of further downside repricing. But as we move higher in the dollar, we also know that we're coming off a fairly steep retracement. There's going to be periods here where the dollar is more consolidative. And in those periods, we could see the market reestablish. We could see the market even push further, along with the fact that if the overall bounce were to ever start to fail, this, of course, is structurally looking more or less like a top, albeit we need to, of course, end this sort of short-term bounce in the dollar. Same idea with things like rates. I know rates started to pick up in February, once again, putting a little bit of pressure on maybe some of the high-flying tech and growth stocks, but we came into what is normally considered resistance. So if we do see further downside coming off of this level, that would, of course, be a period of maybe change in how the S&P performs. And then just looking across some of the vol products, once again, during this entire drawdown, we have not really seen massive fear in regards to volatility picking up in the futures market. We haven't seen backwardation like we saw last year. So the drawdown periods are often temporary. Unless we start to really see this pick up, and there will ideally be some clear signals if and when that happens, we would eventually need to sort of deal with the fact that this might change short term. I will be looking to see if we do see more response off of approximately VIX at the 20, but this is for now not something that I've seen a clear change of character here or any sort of notable response off of volatility products. So be on the lookout for some trade that is taking place. There was some indication that there was some larger longer term bets out in, I'm gonna say May in the VIX. Yeah. So you can see that there's been some higher trade starting to occur, sort of in the, wouldn't necessarily call it super out of the money, but I think short term May volatility. This is 76 day. Let me see what that's trading at. Yeah, it's trading at about 22. So there is some slightly out of the money long bias trade that's fairly heavy relative to the VIX product taking place out in May. So, once again, we're talking more about March, kind of looking ahead just for the month for now. Certainly the market can kind of trade sideways in this short-term period, and we're of course, going to be looking at the close from February to kind of give us a sense of continuation. But for now, I would argue that unless we're seeing clear signals, be on the lookout for back testing. There's been a lot of structure being set up down here, and while it's not the cleanest thing in the world, the downtrend has been stalled temporarily. There's not a lot of really strong selling down here quite yet. It's just quite volatile. There's back and forth trade. Things kind of snap off really quickly and then come back off of lows just as strong. So until this changes, this is kind of the market we're in. It's a box. It's quite a volatile box, but allow this to be your guide. Allow price activity to kind of tell you when sentiment is maybe structurally starting to change, and then using that information, just understand some of the risk components on the higher time frames. This allows us to get a sense of the potential, even if we are short-term intraday and swing traders. So with all that said, my name is Jared. This is Engineering the Market. Next time you'll see me, I should be in San Diego, barring any sort of flight delays. So hopefully, I look forward to covering Engineering the Market in a new state. But all in all, I appreciate everything that y'all provide for me. I'm happy to give back, and be on the lookout for more coverage tomorrow. We'll probably look into nat gas tomorrow. Unfortunately, just wasn't ready by today. So, still on the docket, but not quite prepared. So trade safe. We'll talk more then.
Good morning, Carlos.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to PreMarket Prep. Give me 1 second. I see my camera is offline. Let me see if we could fix that. Oh, okay, there we go. All right, excellent. All right, good morning, guys. Welcome to PreMarket Prep. I hope everyone's having an amazing morning. Hopefully, you guys had an incredible day yesterday. Good morning, Peter. How are you doing today? I see you are in a hotel room, looks like.
I am indeed. I am here in San Diego. We are in the lovely Hard Rock where I collected some of the stuff that you get free in the room
Very
to
nice.
demonstrate to everybody. Because only in the Hard Rock do you get. First, I have a giant plant-based cookie. You know, because no hotel stay is the same without a plant. You got to have your plant-based proteins. So that's good. Now, and if I want to wash it down, only at the Hard Rock do they provide you. These are the room-sized tequila and vodka, just for your use.
Nice.
That's just
Nice.
sitting in my room in case you want those. And there's more alcohol sitting right over there. You can actually see it on the shelf behind me and stuff. And if none of you have ever stayed at a Hard Rock, I'm telling you, a Hard Rock Hotel is a unique experience. I'm not trying to do an ad for the Hard Rock necessarily, but only at the Hard Rock do you see what that says on it?
Love kit.
The Love Kit. Yes,
Very
indeed.
nice.
So, at the Hard Rock, they make sure that you're equipped no matter what happens. This is the part of the Hard Rock stay my wife is not so sure about, but we don't have to tell her about that. All right.
All right, excellent. Peter, thank you
Let's talk stocks.
for the great information there. So if you guys are heading over to the rock to the to, to the hotel, you know exactly what to expect when you get there. All right, excellent, my friends. Guys, let's get into it. Before we do that, guys, big thumbs up for Jared, engineering the markets every Monday through Thursday, bringing us some really good information. So let's make sure we give him a big thumbs up. He takes a lot of time for him to prepare and put that great information there. So today we're going to go for 250 likes, already sitting at 72. We'd love to get to 250 if we can. That is our space there where we're feeling very, very comfortable. Um, let's get into some of the stuff we had yesterday, guys. Let's look at, I only had three tickers on my list, and I think that's all we really needed. We had Tesla, which is right on here. We had Oxy and Zoom. So let's dive into our 5 minute on Tesla over here. And again, just it's incredible how active Tesla is both before the market and after the market. Yesterday, not so much. If you notice yesterday, by the way, very quiet after hours. I think a lot of it has to do with today's event. Remember, today's their investors event is happening today. So we'll see what comes out of that. But guys, yesterday, what a beautiful trading day it was for Tesla. I didn't trade this one, unfortunately. I traded Zoom, which actually turned out okay. But man, what a beautiful trading day here. See the beautiful breakdown from the levels we had here, 210 that we put together in the morning. You see the beautiful 5 minute open range breakdown with a great confirmation there. Test of the VWAP and the moving average, another leg down. I mean, this was textbook status here. And if you do trade the reversal ABCD pattern, you also have a nice reverse ABCD pattern happening there also. So again, you just had everything going for this. And then you finally got a little bit of support here at this 204 level that we had off our daily. As you guys remember, just putting these things together. Look at the beautiful bounce back to VWAP, consolidates around the VWAP, and then gives you another push all the way up to almost the opening of the day here, but not quite. But again, just very, very active. Tesla continues to do this. But yesterday was very, very clean. Here was Oxy. Oxy for the
Let's
most part. Yeah.
I was going to say we should talk Tesla while we're here because Investors Day often provides some a lot of fun, right? Because
Yeah.
we've got Elon up on stage, and everybody loves when Elon talks, right? They love to speculate what he actually means, what's going to happen versus what he says is going to happen. In fact, what is he even going to say?
Yeah.
As we were talking about yesterday, there's all that speculation about the cheap car, the $25,000 electric car, right? That he's been talking about. So will that be a big focus of Investors Day, or will he not even mention it? So there's probably out there somewhere an over under on it, but I haven't found it. So the day because that Investor Day I don't actually know what time it starts. I think it's this afternoon market time, right? Now I'm on the West Coast, so my my timing is all off. It's 5:30 in the morning here. How do you people do this on the West Coast? Anyways, that being said, I probably shouldn't be going out to the bar with Mike until 1. So, anyways, that's my problem. But so whenever investor days start, that's going to, people are going to be reacting to that. But again, does anybody know the time of investor day? Help me out here, because I
I
don't have
don't
the
know
time.
the time. We got some articles here on Trading Terminal we can look at. I think it's an all-day event, but it's got to be a time where Elon takes the mic and then he does his thing, and that's probably what people are going to be waiting for, right? So I don't know the
Like
exact time of that.
I'm just assuming that it starts on West Coast time, which would mean even if it starts at 9:30 West Coast time or 9, that's not till noon market time, right? So keep that in mind. Is it 3 p.m.? See, that's what
3
I thought.
p.m.
So it'll
Yeah,
actually start after the market closes, right? I assume
yeah,
that's 3
yeah.
p.m. West Coast, or is that 3 p.m. market time? Anyways, whatever time it is, it's going to be a little later in the day. So what you will see, I think Tesla's going to move in the morning. It usually does, right? As people position and get
Mm-hmm.
sort of guess what's happening, but know that that won't be on facts. It'll be on speculation, which means that we're likely to see. I mean, it could be very directional, but it's likely to be a little unpredictable, whatever happens with Tesla. I'm going to watch it just because it's probably going to be fun, but
Yeah.
I don't know whether we'll be able to trade it effectively, because it could be a little risky. If you do trade it with caution. Expect big spreads and big swings, because it could be moving all over the place.
Yeah, 100%
Or,
agree. You got something?
Jason's saying, are they west or are they down in Austin? Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I don't. Where is Investor Day happening? I'm trying to find information. I'm trying also not to run too much data here, because I want to make sure that I don't freeze up on you. But we'll see what happens. But
Yeah, yeah. So
anyways,
there's Norm confirming 4 p.m. Eastern time, and their headquarters is in
perfect.
Austin now. Yeah, that's right. They moved down there. So excellent.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, so that is Tesla, guys. We also had Oxy on deck. Again, Oxy was not great, and this stock doesn't trade well very often. But the start of this one was a little bit rough. It eventually gave you a nice breakout. But when I see these candles like this one here, I'm not too excited. They're just a little bit more difficult to trade. Again, and then all this buying pressure, all this selling pressure, and it doesn't sell off, right? Comes right back up to that. So it's a little bit tough to trade this and to find a strategy for that. So that was actually not a whole lot going on there. And here was Zoom. Zoom was actually a nice breakdown at the beginning. Brian took this for a Rising Devil. So Brian did very well with this yesterday. Not sure if you took this too, Peter.
Yeah, I did. I admit, I took it and I got a fantastic entry up 76, 78 or something like that. Because
Yes.
we had to wait a minute or two, because it actually went up and spiked. But follow the strategy. I got a great trade, and oh man, like it moved down, as you said. I got a great trade yesterday
Very
because I
nice.
was jumping on a flight, so I got very lucky. But I was surprised, because remember we talked about that pre-market. It's part of the value of what we do in the show. Like, we are saying, I'm not sure about it, as we give me some confidence, and then it's set up, and yeah, worked great. So
Absolutely. I'll read to some of the comments on YouTube. And Chris, one of our buddies there, says, Chris MC, inside the Love Kit, there's another bottle of tequila. I will not be surprised. Take things to the next level. That will make perfect sense.
okay,
uh, all right, guys.
maybe.
Let's take a look at our gappers list this morning, which is massive, as you can see. Much different than what we had yesterday. Yesterday was a little bit more manageable. Today, there's a ton of stuff here. Some with some really high numbers, lower flow tickers. We'll look to see what's happening there. High short interest as well, short flow interest there. And then the gap down, also a ton of stuff. And I'm surprised we have such a big list on both sides, because the market is pretty much flat right now. We're not getting. We did get a big downtrend, right? We did do that because we're up nicely. Now we're in the red this morning. So the range so far this morning has been very active. But I'm surprised that we have so much going on our list this morning. It's the first of the month, so things are moving around. People are rebalancing things, as Jared mentioned this morning, entering the markets. Let's see what's going on as far as market news, Peter.
Well, I usually like to look at the international or the global futures, and the global. Hopefully, you can still hear me, by the way, because my data here
Yeah,
is
loud and
freezing.
clear.
But Excellent. Global futures are pretty flat today, little mixed around the world. So not seeing some huge movement one way or the other. So that tells me, anything goes today. We're not, going in one particular direction. And usually the gappers sort of reflects that. I think we're seeing that, as you were pointing out, Carlos, a little bit this morning as well. Oh my goodness, I can't believe it. I literally rolled out of bed to get here to make sure I'm here on time. I'm actually feeling pretty good. But which again, surprising. We'll see how this goes. You guys can watch my progression into into the West Coast over the next couple of days. But which means that I did not, unfortunately, properly update our economic calendar. But we are in March. And welcome to a new month, a new trading month, and a new set of opportunities, and a new options month, right? Which is important too. But anyways, we do have a couple of numbers in terms of the balance of goods and advanced retail inventories. Wholesale inventories also coming out this morning. They're already out. So the actual numbers on the balance of goods, which is not a big impact, slightly less than expected. At minus $90.5 billion. The retail inventories were down from zero point 0.4 anticipated, or sorry, that was the previous number. 0.3% is the number that came out. And interestingly, the biggest one here, saving for last, the advanced wholesale inventories minus 0.4% when the expectation was plus 0.1%. So relatively big swing on that. Again, will it have a market impact? Those don't, but the market's skittish recently, so that may have a negative drag. We'll see. I mean, right now, if I'm just checking the SPY in real time here, we're seeing that it is drawing down, so maybe that is having the impact we're seeing sort of right at this moment. Later on this morning, we do have a couple other small indices that are the home price index is coming out at 9:45. We've got the Chicago Business Barometer. I don't actually know that one. No, sorry, that was yesterday. My bad. No wonder they already came out. The ISM, sorry, 10 o'clock this morning coming out, and then construction spending. So neither of those are having a massive impact. So or would expected to. So I think we're just going to be watching what's on earnings. Some good earnings today. I say good. Again, it's another group of companies that I often get suckered with because I watch them all the time and then they disappoint me. But we'll see as we get to them on the off the gappers list. If we don't, I'll call them out to let you know what I'm looking at.
Absolutely. All right, guys, we got a ton to go through on this list. We're not going to get through everything. We'll do top 10 top 5 on both sides. And then I want to get to both chat rooms here on YouTube and in our chat and see what you guys like today. But for right now, let's just look at the top 10 and see if there's anything good that's happening here, or at least top 5 on up and down. Let me go ahead and remove the stuff from yesterday, Control A, Control X, and let's go to the first one on our list, which is RETA. And this is a low flow, guys, 27.5 million, up 173 from the close. So big gap up this morning. Peter, what's the latest and greatest on this bad boy?
Retail Pharmaceuticals Inc. I've never heard of. I don't think I've ever traded this, but it's a biotech. As you said, 30. It's 30 million shares in the float, but they got approval for a rare disorder drug. So whenever you get new approvals, there's two things you have to watch for, right? FDA approvals, and usually it's the when they do testing, phase 1, phase 2, 2A. Testing of drugs. When they get positive results out of that, usually you see stocks jump. So again, the approval doesn't necessarily mean anything at this point. It's not like they've done anything with it, but that FDA approval means that obviously there is a future for one of the drugs in which they've been investing, and that's why we're seeing this jump. So treat it with caution. I don't see any charts there. There we go.
No,
so there's Rita. Like we said, almost 1 million shares. It's a little odd to me that it's going so flat right now, right? Because the price action is decidedly sideways at the moment. Again, if you're thinking of trading this, again, treat it like a very dangerous low float. It is, and wait and see if the price action picks up as we get close to the open.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't like this pre-market activity at all. It just doesn't look healthy, guys. Be very, very, very careful. And as I mentioned before, just in case for those that were not logged in and missed it, if you want to see how these low flow trades, take a look at BAER from a couple of days ago. Take it over to the tradingterminal.com replay. You're going to be surprised how nasty this thing is. It's very, very bad. I mean, you got stuck on a halt on the way up, which usually when you get stuck on a halt on the way up, stocks for the most part, they tend to keep going. They'll give you another leg up. This one doesn't, slams right down immediately. So you can see how fast this thing happens and how quick you can be in a bad situation. So very, very careful.
Yeah. And some people live off of these, right? They trade these every day, but they know what they're doing and they've got an approach. If you're just feeling it out, right? I mean, by all means, like do it in simulator. Just don't do it somewhere where you're going to hurt yourself.
Yeah. Absolutely. Let's take a look here, guys, at Lion. So Lion is next on our list, and it doesn't look like it has a big roar on here at all. Very light volume and not much happening. Only up 32.9, and it just looks horrible, guys. There's nothing really in play here. Yes, it is up almost 35% here. That looks exciting, but the volume is just. I mean, look at this. How do you trade this? How do you decide what's your edge on here? There's none. If you're trading this, you're probably gambling. So let's head on down to unless you
That's
have
another
anything good.
SPAC, by the way.
Oh,
This is
it
the
is.
second day in a row we've had some of these SPACs pop up in list, which is a little rare. Normally you don't see them like that pre-market. So I don't know what's moving it. Often you don't get the news on it. So
Yeah.
yeah, moving on.
Yeah, absolutely. SRPT, we've seen this before as we had levels on there a while ago. This morning they're up 16%, and this is a therapeutics company. They don't get a whole lot of volume. And another one that's, again, the pop-up looks good, but the guts look horrible here. Peter, anything worth watching on this one?
Earnings on I don't know how to say it. Sarepta, I think Sarepta Therapeutics.
Sounds good to me.
I mean they had good numbers. They beat on earnings, which has got people interested. Other than that, like you said, I typically don't find it trades that well, so I probably won't be watching it myself.
Yeah. So far, no luck on the gap up list. Let's take a look at the next one here. We have Billy. So Billy on deck. And this morning, they have volume. Man, they got this gap up from 8.2, and it's just been sideways the entire time. I think the only time we'll get some information on this is after the market open. And we see how these are going to go. Now, Peter, I'm starting to see Billy's leading the way, but I see Baidu, I see Beck, I see Baba, JD, PDD. It's like a marathon here of Chinese tickers on deck. Is there anything going on overseas that might be pushing these things higher? Baba especially looks good today.
You're putting me on the spot for that. Not that
No
I'm
worries.
aware of. Let's crowdsource it. Help me out, guys. If you see any news, as said, I maybe too much vodka early in the morning.
Listen, man, you're up like this is very early for you, so I completely understand. For those over in San Diego, take a look at all the East Coast moderators around 2:30 your time. You're going to start to see a loss of the gas there. It's not
yeah, that's
easy.
right.
2:30, yeah, that's
I'll be
around the
sleeping in my
time where it's
seat.
like, okay, what's happening? All right, let's take a look here. So
So the room, which is always helpful, people saying there's strong retail data coming out of China. China had the strongest manufacturing PMI since 2012. So thank you to Pino and Momo Trader. I said this is what I love about the room. I can usually ask any question, and somebody will have known the answer, and we're happy to help. So there you go. Thank you, guys.
Yep, absolutely. So I like Baba for this, guys. They have good volume, 1 million shares traded right now, up 5.6. So yeah, definitely going to put this on deck. Neo is going wild, but Shoto over on YouTube is calling out Neo, and also Gerard is calling out Neo. Earnings today, is that what we're seeing?
Yep,
I don't know if it's
exactly.
going crazy, but we do, man, 7.2 million, and it's still not looking good. That's just it's a whole new Neo, guys. It's a whole new Neo that we've been staying away from, as you can see here.
Yeah, so Neo didn't have the best of earnings report, but hey, look, it's a Chinese company. So like we were just talking about, when you see a lift in the sector, Neo is one of the flagships in that space, and it's going to get a lift as well. So I think we're seeing just general positivity, right? Because if there's strong economic activity, in the area. I mean, as far as I know, Neo still only sells in China, although they have been talking over the last couple of months about expanding with sales offices across Europe and potentially even North America. But right now, I believe their cars are only available in the Chinese marketplace. So, but yeah, primarily the big volume is because of earnings. So I think Neo. I like Neo when it's in play. We haven't seen it nicely in play for a while now. So maybe today is the day. We've talked about some of the others. Lee was up the other day, so maybe today is Neo's day.
Yeah, yeah. I find it hard to believe, but I'll give it the benefit of the doubt and put it as a secondary. I mean, it just has let us down so much, Peter, right? So we will see if we can get something out of this. I mean, it's been hasn't been fun.
Once
Um,
once burned, twice shy. Are you a little?
yeah. Well, it was hey, it's coming from a guy that traded, I think, for almost 2 months straight, right? So I have a lot of love for Neo,
Yeah.
but it hasn't been the same. All right, so plenty of Chinese tickers here as we looked
Oh,
into.
Carlos, Neo, I'll
Yeah,
always love you, but I just can't trust you anymore.
no, I
We
can't
need
trust
we
you
need some
anymore.
time apart.
We
We need
need,
some time
we need
apart.
some time together at the Hard Rock Cafe with the Love Kit, and maybe I can fall in love back with Neo.
That's
But right now, no, it's not happening.
right.
So you got tons of Chinese tickers here, guys. You have Baba, JD, PDD. You could pick your favorite. I'm gonna go with Baba. I like the volume. I like the way this one trades when it is in play. So that's what I'm gonna keep on here. And then if you scroll down, there is just ton of stuff here. More Chinese tickers, man. The whole list, XBEVs, SI. So pick your favorites off that. I'm gonna go just with Baba today. So it's funny when I looked at the gap up list, I didn't realize the tickers on here. It's really not that big if you take out the Chinese tickers. It's not that long. So that's just kind of making this list longer than what it needs to be. Now, the gap downside, we're going to see things that are being pushed around by the SPY because the SPY kind of selling off a little bit, not too much. But we'll start with NVAX here, which is down 26%. Man, that is a nice little drop for them this morning. They are down at 682. Wow. Wow. Okay. Well,
I
earnings?
remember. Yeah, it's amazing to think that they are down. Like the price is so low, right? So,
Yeah.
no, not earnings. The company issued a warning that they're not sure if they're going to have the ability to stay in business through next year.
Wow.
So, that's pretty problematic.
Man,
So, um,
that is rough.
now so that's a big change from, yeah, exactly. If you're looking back on the data, look where they were throughout COVID. They benefited significantly. We're right back to the levels where they're at before they
Right.
had all of the boosts. So I find it amazing. Norm is asking a great question, right? Then how are they at $6? So they say we might not be in business. We're not sure if we're going to be able to sustain this after after the whole COVID-19
That is
vaccine
wild.
problems that they had developing and selling, and of course now that the global demand has eased off, and they weren't one of the primary beneficiaries of that. Yeah, why still six? I don't know. I mean, presumably the company still has some intrinsic value, but it could just also be the market being the market, right? Like,
Yeah.
it'll stay there until they actually file for bankruptcy. Then it'll drop down to $2 and do some crazy stuff down there. I mean, I don't know, but I personally, I don't know. I don't think I could trade this. If it gave a big strong pop up or something and then started to sell off again, you might take advantage. But at this point, I would be treating Novavax
Yeah.
like a low float, like we were talking about a few minutes
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah. It just looks so bad, guys. So, yeah, I will stay away from this. Be very, very careful. Jack Cat on YouTube is saying, what if you would have bought at 300? Can you imagine? You never know. I'm sure to every transaction, it's a buyer and it's a seller. So who knows? Could have something there. Um, I don't like it. Maybe it's a possible, guys. But be careful with this thing. It just doesn't look great. Take a look at the next one here is TSVT, and this just looks horrible. So we're not going to spend no time on this. We'll move on to the next one, IQ, which is gapping down 9.7 today. Now, is IQ Chinese? I think they are, right? So it's the only
It is, yeah.
Chinese ticker gapping down. That's interesting this morning. So maybe some
Uh,
news there that's causing that. They got some volume.
yeah, I mean, I didn't seem like terribly bad news to me, but the news out on them is that they're just raising money through a convertible bond issuance. It's basically like a secondary offering. So whenever you issue additional securities against your stock, it dilutes the current value of the stocks that are out there. So 600 million, though, not a huge number. But
Mm-hmm.
that's what they said that they're going to be raising. I mean, this is a company with a $6 billion market cap, so that shouldn't have a huge dilutive effect to the overall stock price. But as you can see, the reaction is definitely negative.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So yeah, let's see. Might be interesting. I like the volume and the drop they might be getting here. Lower price stock, which I'm not too excited about that, but we'll see what happens there. All right, we got Rivian coming on deck, and these guys are down 8.5. They've been having a little tough time the last couple of days. You can see here the drop. Try to recover, try to get going to 20, and then back down to 17. Maybe a possible. What do we have on this one, Peter?
I think you remember we mentioned them in passing, right? And it was the other day because when where EV companies started to report, just some general news out there about a couple of the smaller EVs not seeing the ramp up in demand that was expected. So their backlog numbers are still there, but they're not seeing the same type of demand that was being expected, right? Everybody thought that all of these car companies would go crazy, but that means that you need not only investor confidence, but confidence from the public to put in the orders and actually buy the cars. And
Yes, that's
they're
important.
seeing that. Right. I mean, because and then they have to be able to deliver on it. So in Rivian's case, we got two problems. We got their inability to deliver larger numbers quickly, which again builds that retail confidence because people, hey, if you want to have the fancy car to show off to the neighbors, you got to put it in your driveway, right? So,
Yeah, yeah.
um, so they got to be able to deliver on those things, and of course it needs to work because once it's in your driveway, you got to be able to take it to the store and back again to show off. If it doesn't work, that's a problem. Now I'm not saying that's the case in Rivian's case, but just be aware that there's concerns over the health of the company, and that's why we're seeing the drop.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. All right, we will stop here. We got just a couple, Baba, IQ Neo, and NVAX, and these are again not looking so hot right now. I know we're going to be adding Tesla for sure, so I'm going to throw that on there. I see some of you guys already putting that in chat. Peter, anything you have on deck that you're going to be watching today?
Well, I said the ones that love to disappoint me, I'll just mention them. So Dollar Tree is there. There's only a couple of the dollar stores. DLTR is the
TR.
ticker symbol on that one.
Yeah.
They beat their numbers. They're usually pretty much on target with their numbers, so they beat it this morning. Oddly, the stock is down. I find it doesn't seem to matter whether they report a beat or a loss. They tend to be down pre-market, and then the market opens and they do something else weird.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
in their case, their numbers were good, but their guidance fell short, which is probably why it's being driven down. But I said it disappoints just because I don't know. Personally, I can't figure it out. My strategies don't seem to work on Dollar Tree well. And if you don't catch it at the open, it usually goes sort of dead towards the afternoon. Other two that, in case you like the sector and you want earnings, Lowe's reported LOW. They had sort of mixed earnings where they missed on revenue, beat on earnings per share, and then Kohl's KSS, which is the other way around. They beat on revenue, missed on earnings. Now, Kohl's, I haven't had a chance to dig into, but their earnings number were pretty sad. There must be some one-time charges, I'm guessing, because they
What
missed
is the code
quite.
tickers, by the way? K.
Kohl's
Oh,
KSS.
KSS. Yeah, yeah. I'm actually spelling Kohl's,
Yeah,
the company. Yeah, that's not gonna
yeah,
work. Here it is. KSS.
yeah. So they I think what happened here is that they gave sort of a forward-looking warning on profits, which the market wasn't really anticipating, and that's why we're sort of seeing some negativity. Kohl's, to me, of the three of them, is the one I personally like best, but none of them look fantastic. These are three that, again, wait as you get closer to the open if you really want to trade them. That they should be in play because they all had sort of news events, earning type events. But I said at the moment, like you notice they're not even hitting our list for one reason or another. Coles should be on our list somewhere as a
Yeah,
gap
it
down, I
should
would
be. It's
think.
gapping down. Yeah, it should be. I mean, they're down 8%. They have some volume
There it
here.
is. I
Could
see it
could be
rippled over.
interesting today. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. We'll put
yeah.
as a
So,
possible
anyways,
actually.
Those
Cool.
those are the three that sort of look interesting to me. If we
Yeah.
check, guys, feel free to throw out the ones that you're looking at on YouTube and in the room. I see Nvidia, of course.
Yeah. I
We
see
always keep
Nvidia
an eye on Nvidia these days.
on a couple on here. And Nvidia, if we look at that one, I mean, it's just been hanging out here, guys. Hasn't done really much as far as breaking out one way or the other. A few times it has to dip
Right.
lower, push back up. But as far as pre-market this morning, notice the volume on Nvidia today, guys. 2.4 million shares traded. We definitely like that. So we're going to be adding that to our list. It's pretty much flat as far. Well, it was pretty low this morning. It crawled its way out of the pre-market lows to only a third of the way down here. So it looks pretty good so far. Not sure if any news is driving it, but this volume is pretty high. Definitely worth looking at. Jeff is giving us you. I'm afraid to pull this one up because usually this doesn't look all that great, doesn't trade all that great. This is Unity software. But
Yeah.
they've been finding a little bit of a bounce here.
Yeah, they had their earnings last week. We talked about it then, and you can see
Okay.
that sort of caused
Yep.
that gap drop. I don't see any particular news on it this morning. I did watch them last week. Never found a trade on it, so it is a nicey stock. I just mention this every once in a while. Know that stocks that are nicey, you can tell that, by the way, usually in whatever your platform is. We use the DAS Pro platform, and you can see it's got an N in the sort of top right corner. If
Yeah.
you look at Carlos's screen, top right corner, it's either got an N or a Q usually. That would be NYSE, New York Stock Exchange, versus a NASDAQ stock. They just trade a little bit differently. There you go. Thanks, Carlos. It's in the watch
Hmm.
list as well. And it's not universal. Like NEO is on the New York Stock Exchange, and it trades great. But often other tickers don't trade as well, and it's just because they have a different method of managing the institutional volume. There's market makers, like actual people and institutions, that are responsible for it in a different manner on the New York Stock Exchange than the way it's done on NASDAQ. And I just find that the smoothness of the patterns and the trades can be disrupted by that market maker involvement. So especially at the open, I'll often find you get like unexpected moves. Coles, I said it loves to
Yeah.
disappoint me because it does that. Right, it's going in a direction, and suddenly it spikes in the other direction on some volume that I'm like, where the heck did that come from? So, anyways, I
Yeah.
just be aware of that, and take it into account as you're building your trading plan.
Yeah, absolutely. So Jeff, yeah, good point. I think that it looks a little bit interesting here, but you have to wait for the market open to see how this thing is going to trade. Obviously, it has a nice little bounce here. It's bouncing off some levels. For the way I trade, as you mentioned, the price action is not the best on these nicey stocks when they don't get great volume. This could be one of them. So I'll just be careful on that one. Had an okay trading day yesterday. But again, without seeing the price action, not sure how clean that was. Couple of questions over on our YouTube chat here. So the difference in the list, this is the list that I like. This is the stuff I'm going to be watching closely. These are some possibles that can get better throughout the day. I might end up moving them up, but this is more of my secondary list of things that, to keep a close eye on. But for the most part, the focus is going to be on this. This is my watch list so far. Baba, Tesla, and Nvidia at the moment. I see some moderators
On
throwing their list.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. On YouTube, I just want to say Melanie McNulty is saying that in this market there are ouch stories everywhere you look. I find that you're right, but that's in every market too, right? You can have the most bullish market out there, and you still get terrible stories. They all often get overwhelmed by the one or two people who got lucky, and because they're so excited that they often got lucky, and they put their money into this low float, and I tripled my account today, and I'm going out to price my Lambos. They usually don't come back and tell you, I just lost all of that because I didn't actually know what I was doing, and I just made a
Yeah.
series of bad trades without
Yeah.
discipline, right? So, I always say, don't let that dissuade you, but just understand every single day there are massive gains, big winners and big losers out there. That's just the way the markets work, and that's what makes it fun. That's why we're here,
Yeah.
right? Because I love it.
Actually, I meant to add Rivian to our secondary list here. Someone mentioned Rivian. It should be on our secondary list. So we'll add that on here. And then let's look at another one here. AMD, one of our favorites here. This morning, it seems to be dropping. Is the market dropping? What's going on here?
AMD has been a hard trader the last couple of days.
I know.
I think it's been since mid last week since I've traded it. And that's saying something for me because I do watch it every day.
Yeah.
And I just, it at the open especially, oh my goodness, it has been just ugly, and definitely a no-go zone for me. And then later on in the day, I haven't found it, it hasn't broken out or given me good setups. So, that's part of, remember we were talking the other day about, if you want to watch a single stock, just don't think you know what it's going to do. That lesson has served me well over the last few days, because I don't know what AMD is going to do, and I don't assume, because I could have been caught in a lot of chop. And I'm actually pretty proud that I was able to stay, out of the stock and on the sidelines, because yeah, it's like, I'm not saying I'm not abandoning it. I don't feel about AMD as Carlos feels about Neo, right? We're still in love, and the
Yeah,
trust
yeah.
is still there. We just
Still there.
we just
Good,
know,
good.
that AMD's moody right now, and sometimes that just means you just stay
Give
away,
it
right? You
space.
give
Give it
them
a
their
little
space,
space. Yeah,
give them
yeah.
space, right? And they'll come back. They'll come back.
Absolutely. Guys, let's get over to our lineup for this week as far as events. And next, we're going to head over to our website here and give you what's going on and what's to come up here. Here we go.
All right. Well, we are midweek. It's oh my goodness, is it Wednesday already? How does that happen? But here we are, and that means we've already been through the onboarding, which happened on Monday. We went through our strategy session, which was also Carlos.
Well,
And happened yesterday.
it updated. It updated, right? So this
Oh,
is
that's
next
right,
week. Yeah.
because there I am, because we're looking to next week. So next week I'll be doing my trading into the close, because I'm here at the open and at the close every day. And I have a signature strategy that I'm using at the close that a lot of the members are trading with me. We'll talk about that, but that's next Tuesday, March the 7th at 8 o'clock in the webinar room. And then today, it's Psychology Day. So today we'll be talking with Dr. Kenneth Reed about hitting the reset button. That's going to be at 8 o'clock market time in the webinar room. So that's always a good session. I like Dr. Reed. He understands trading and traders. He's a trader himself. So that really gives you a good perspective on the markets in a different way. I often find of thinking about the challenges. He often doesn't tell me a challenge that I'm not already worried about, but he gives me a different way to address it and make sure that I bring it front of mind. And then next week we'll have Kreda, who's with us, talking about how your faulty leading can lead to messing up your trades. Again, early time. Keep that in mind. Early time. Whenever Kreda's with us, she's on at 5 o'clock. So that'll be next week. Tomorrow is mentorship day, and we have John and Thor doing their mentorship sessions. Those will be happening in the room during market hours at 11 o'clock with John, and then at 8 o'clock in the webinar room with Thor. So all that stuff is part of our usual lineup. No matter what we have, no matter what's going on, I will be drinking tequila. No, I kid. I joke. Not a tequila guy, but I did find an awesome Scotch bar here in San Diego. If you show up in San Diego, well, that's where you'll find me, because they had a book, like a 50-page book of all of the selections they had, and the biggest selection of absinthe I've ever seen anywhere. Not that I'm going in for the absinthe. That's a way to absent yourself from the next couple of days. But anyways, if you like that stuff, I know where you can go. I can hook you up. Anyways, all that being said, don't forget to visit Trading Terminal. It's a great place to get all of your news and your information. When I said I rolled out of bed with my alarm earlier today here at the Hard Rock Hotel, I logged into Trading Terminal first to find out what was on the calendar, both the economic calendar and the earnings calendar. So it got me up to speed quickly, and then I was able to sort of check the news as we were going through things this morning. So don't be afraid to check there for all of your information. I'm actually using it as well for the real-time trading terminal, which is in there, which is a fantastic new feature that we've added. It was allowing me to check stocks in real time, because it's a free real-time. It's not even a replay, like it's sort of live, right? And you can simulate your trades right against it. It's fantastic. So I normally log into my platform, but I thought, well, let's do this to save a little bandwidth, and it's been great this morning. It's telling me exactly what the stocks are doing pre-market, and it does it right through the open. So anyways, check out tradingterminal.com. It's got a ton of stuff, including, by the way, our Academy classes, which are sort of a la carte classes you can buy if you want to focus in on a specific topic. Eamon and Paris, for example, both have very successful classes in there that people are loving because they really get them in-depth information about a specific trading style or approach. And I'm actually taking Paris's class as well. And it's it's funny because you'd like to think after years and years of trading, I've got it down, but there's always more to learn. And Paris is showing me some stuff that I sort of need to know, and it's been helping my trading over the last couple of days. So don't be afraid to check out those courses in the Academy in tradingterminal.com. If you want to join us here at the Bear Bulls Trading Center, you can do so with the code PreMarket24 to get a discounted 1-week trial membership. We'd love to see you in the room. You get access to, like today, for example, it's a Wednesday, which means you don't only have access to our regular trading room, you get the options room. Jared and Megan are over there in the options room setting up as we speak, and they'll be talking options all day with, whether you know everything or you know nothing, it's a good place to talk options. So consider joining that room. And then if you want to join us on a more permanent basis, take advantage of one of our membership levels, the best deal being the Elite Annual Membership, where you pay a one-time fee for your annual access, and it gives you a hugely discounted rate off of the monthly cost. So hopefully we will see you with one of those memberships soon in the room. If you're new in the room, by the way, say hello. I always like to hear from our new traders. Oh, Megan's telling me that I lied. There is no options room today or Friday. So it sort of makes sense. They're both working towards getting to where I am, right? So that they can get their welcome gifts. So that's not happening this week, but every other week we've got that going on. So apologies for that. But Cuba, you're saying save the Tito's for me? All right, I'll have it right here for you. When you show up, you let me know. So and yeah, Megan's coming for the plant-based cookie. Well, there you go. You get one in your room. I'll tell you what. You can if you eat yours, you can have mine too. So
there you go. Guys, thank you so much for that, Peter. Let's get into some levels, guys. We only have 3 to go. They're running a little bit behind on time, but that's okay because I know our moderators are some of them probably getting ready to pack. No, it's not your fault, Peter. We're good here. We got time actually. It's only 3. And we'll start with Baba, guys. Baba looking really good this morning. Out of the Chinese tickers, this is my favorite. So we're going to look at the high of the pre-market. It's going to be right over here at 93.32. We'll slam a level there. And then towards the bottom, low of the pre-market. You know what? It's all the way down here. Let me get you this wick. This one all the way over here at 91.88. I'm still going to mark that down, but I think there's a more action up here. 92.55 and this one here, 92.24, are worth noting because you have a lot more activity other than this one wick just hanging out here on its own, right? So if you mark that within the high and low of the pre-market, towards the bottom, you got plenty of stuff. Do not need to add anything. And just in case we get back up to the 93.31 and we're breaking out of that, we do have a level here around 94.08. That got a couple of days, opening and closing right around there. So that's Baba for us, guys. Notice Baba's last couple of days. Every day has been red. Might not have been red as far as the open, right? But every day after it opens up has been red. So interesting. This has been what for the last 2 weeks looks like. Is today going to be the same thing? These guys love to sell off. Obviously, they have some news today, so maybe today could be the difference maker. But Baba sell-offs are really nice and really aggressive. Be on the lookout for that. Here's Tesla, as we mentioned before. They have their event going on today at 3 p.m. Central Time, I believe, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. So be on the lookout for that. 209.03 is the high of the pre-market on Tesla right now. Flirting quite a bit here with the previous day close, as you can see. So trying to hold on to that. But their low of their pre-market is going to be a little bit lower, not by much, 205.41. Let's mark that there just in case. But you're getting some pretty good action here, 3.5 million shares traded. And if you look at the bigger picture, we're kind of stuck between the highs and lows of the last 2 trading days here and here. And we've been on this range here in a couple of times. A few times we dipped below that. But for the most part, if you look at the bigger picture, we've been just kind of going sideways here for some time. So let's see if we're setting up here for a nice break. And if it's today's event, it's going to give us that momentum. Guys, here's NVIDIA just crushing it through the previous day close right now, going green slightly at the moment. Low of the pre-market, 228.75. High of the pre-market is going to be 232.47. We have Diana in our chat, which is new to the chat. So let's say hi, welcome to Diana over on YouTube. Thanks for being here for your first time. And I think we're all set, guys. Pre-market activity on NVIDIA looks really good. I'm going to mark down this level here, 230.50, because you do have a lot of action here too. Look at this one here, a little bit of resistance, then some slight support. It does this dip below that, but if you see a couple of candles trying to hold on to that 230, plus you have the resistance giving you more confirmation. Definitely like that level there for NVIDIA. And bigger picture, we've been in this island. We have not left this island yet since we gapped up here pretty huge on news. And we've just kind of been hanging out here. So let's see if NVIDIA has the power to get above this today. So that's our list, guys. BABA, Tesla, NVIDIA. I'm sure throughout the day we're going to get more, especially if the market starts to trend. But right now we have a pretty good list here. SPY, green, red, and now trying to get back green, or at least to the previous day close. A lot of activity there. All right, let's get to the moderators list here. I'm going to bring this over. As I'm doing this, guys, please hit that thumbs up over on YouTube. It does help out the channel quite a bit. So we appreciate that very, very much. Let me go ahead and resize this here. Peter, anything that we might have forgot today?
I think you hit it all. I'm just looking to see what I want to trade at the open. I think I've got a good idea, so getting ready. I will mention IPOs. Not a lot of IPO action. The only thing I'm seeing is NYX that's supposed to be opening later today, although it was supposed to open last week as well, so we'll see. It's been pushed at least once, but that's the only thing I've got on slate there.
All right, excellent. Guys, our moderators list today, we have Thor looking at Microsoft, BABA, NVIDIA, Tesla, Susan looking at AMD, NVIDIA, Meta, and Amazon. Brian will be taking a look at Meta, Tesla, Billy, and VAX at $6 from the highs of 300 not so long ago. NVIDIA on there as well. Megan's looking at PAC. Is that a ticker? PAC? I'm not sure what that is. We'll look at it now.
I think she's
Oh,
actually
she's packing
for her
Oh,
trip.
she's packing.
That's my guess.
Oh, that would make sense. Yes. And then here we have Peter. We have AMD, Tesla, Neo, and your secondary list: NVIDIA, BABA, and Lowe's, which had earnings. Was it today or last night? I believe it was today. Excellent. All right, guys, we are all set. Brian is up next. Is Brian traveling today, or is he at the hotel as well?
No, I think he's traveling later today, so he has a little bit easier flight going west coast to west coast. So at least there's not a time change for him. He and Andrew, I think, are coming in this afternoon. So we will see him in the open, as far as I know. Anyways, it should be awesome. And guys, thanks so much for joining us. If you're going to be here live, it should be an awesome event. I actually don't know at this point whether we have any tickets left. I know yesterday we did have a couple. I should have asked Mike last night. We were out drinking, so I could have had.
Hey, listen, if you want to get in, just go to the website, hit it. And if it goes through, just show up. You know, they'll figure it out. You know, get in there. Get in there.
Absolutely, it's going to be a great event. They're always not only a lot of fun, but there's a ton of trading information in there, and you know, it's a great opportunity. Like I said, I watch the presentations that we make because I learn something as well. You know, you can never assume that you know everything about trading. It's a constantly changing and dynamic environment, which is part of what makes it so exciting, and that's why we keep refreshing our material and our webinars to sort of, you know, keep up with how things are changing and what works, because a strategy that might have worked 6 months ago doesn't necessarily mean it's working today. Like I know I have a number of strategies, and they ebb and wane. Sometimes they work great, like all the time. Other times I've got to mothball them for a while. So, you know, that's why it's good to keep your skills updated. So hopefully we'll see you in San Diego. Anyways, we're all gearing up for that, and we will. You know, if you want to last minute get in, go check the website, as Carlos says, see if there's any tickets left.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys, we're sitting at 207 likes. We'd love to get just about 50 more. If we could do that, that would be beautiful.
And on YouTube, they were saying, well, maybe there you go. Leonardo's adding it again, that if we get to 250 likes, I unpack the love kit. So I guess we'll have to wait till tomorrow because we're not there. So oh well.
Hey, you know what? That's probably not going to happen on this show.
Well, you know.
No. he's gonna unpack that off camera. All right, guys. Guys, Trey
Hey,
safe.
look.
Stop the likes. Stop the likes.
Come on, guys. I want to open her up.
Oh, man. This is amazing.
Yeah.
Guys, stay safe.
All
Have fun
right.
today. Guys, if you are in the San Diego webinar, make sure to take pictures of the event, take pictures of the moderators, tag at Bear Boot Traders on Twitter, on Instagram, on any social media. Bear Boot Traders is on there. We'd love to feel like we're part of the action. So definitely tag us so we can see what's going on and get a nice view and feel of their environment. So thank you so much for that. Guys, we'll see you tomorrow. Is not Friday. Tomorrow's Thursday. So we will see you guys at 8 a.m. Eastern time. Take care and trade safe.
All right, trade safe, everybody. You guys were close. We'll have to try again tomorrow to get to 250. So take care, everyone.
Bye.